I'm a lifelong Windows guy and I bought a MacBook Air to see if it could actually replace my PC life. And if you pick the wrong stuff here, you're spending over $1,000 on something that might not run your games, needs dongle for your gear, and can be upgraded later. So I tested the stuff that actually matters, gaming, my peripherals, real world performance, daily use and editing. And at the end I'll tell you straight up if I'm keeping this thing or sending it right back. And we're starting with gaming because that's where the cope usually starts. And real quick, this is the 15-inch MacBook Air M4 60 gigs of RAM. Not a maxed out $5,000 Pro, just the normalish version most people actually look at first. So again, gaming is the first reality check. And there is two problems here, not one. The first is compatibility, the second is just like raw power. So you basically open Steam and the cope ends pretty fast, because a huge chunk of your library is just like grayed out. You can't even like press play. And it's simple, most games just aren't made for a Mac anymore. Barely anyone games on Mac, like 2% of people. And even the games that do run, this is just like a MacBook Air. It's not built to push high frames like a real gaming PC. So you've got two walls at once. The game either doesn't open at all, or it opens and is not running like you're used to. Now for competitive games like Valorant, CS, Apex, Warzone, Fortnite, Marvel Rivals, all the ranked stuff basically, I don't recommend a Mac at all. Some of these games you literally can't install, they no longer have like Mac support, or some have like kernel level anti-cheat that just doesn't work on a Mac. But sure, not every game is competitive, so for single player indie games and the big AAA stuff, it gets more interesting. A lot of the lighter and indie games run totally fine for what I've tested, and even the big heavy ones are landing on Mac now. So a few big titles came over: Cyberpunk, Baldur's Gate, Assassin's Creed. And honestly, the only reason that this is even happening is Apple finally built some actual gaming tech, a game mode that frees up the system for games, and an upscaler called Metal Effects that basically fakes extra frames to push the numbers up. Some games would hit like 60 FPS, some heavier games are more like 30 to 50 FPS depending on the game and also the settings. And that's just like, to be honest, the reality on a MacBook. And before you jump at me, 50 to 60 FPS is not great or smooth or like amazing experience for gaming in like 2026. But even if Mac doesn't have the support for a lot of these games and you're really set on playing these top games, there are these so-called compatibility layers like crossover, whiskey, parallels that in theory should let you play Windows games on your Mac. But I'm still not gonna lie to you, at that point you're just doing a bunch of testing and research just to play some games at terrible frames anyway. So honestly, the cleaner move is just to use like GeForce Now if the game's on there. But don't lie to yourself, that's not your Mac actually running it, is that rented PC somewhere else streaming to your screen. And because it's streaming, there's also a bit of delay, so for competitive games it's still a big no. But for slower games, it's honestly the best way to game on this thing. So the truth is, in 2026, Mac gaming is usable as a bonus. It's not a reason to buy the laptop. You buy the Mac for everything else, and if some games work, yeah, that's kinda cool. Because like I say, gaming is only half the story. And the funny thing is, the second I stopped judging this thing like a gaming PC, I started liking it way more. Again, the only thing I care about is if it can replace enough for my PC life. But then I plugged in my normal gear and remember this thing has like 3 ports, 2 USB-C, the charger and a headphone jack, that's it. No normal USB-A, no HDMI, nothing. So of course I had to grab like a USB hub, plug that in, then plug my mouse dongle into the hub, just to basically use my mouse. And that's the whole MacBook experience in one sentence. Beautiful laptop, just bring a lot of adapters. And storage is the same joke. Now this thing is about $1,200 and it still comes with like a tiny 256 gigabytes of space, which normally fills up stupid fast once you've got like a video on it. And to bump it, let's say to 512, Apple wants another 200 just for that storage. And also you can really upgrade it later. Whatever you buy day one is what you're stuck with forever. The storage, the RAM, none of it upgrades. And it's the same with monitors. There is no HDMI, so that's another adapter or some USB-C to HDMI cable that you never had. Now when it comes to audio, my IMs were fine. Just plug them into the headset input and they sounded great. No hissing or buzz or the need to plug in a DAC or something like that. So in the end everything works, it all works. It's just that on my PC I never think about any of this. And on a Mac I'm aware of every single thing I plug in. And this is basically the Mac tax. You choose the ecosystem, now you deal with a compromise, or you just pay like a shitload of money to have all of those things. And speaking of ecosystem, this is actually why people buy a Mac in the first place. If you already have like an iPhone or an iPad, this thing will just like fit right in. Your photos, your files, your messages, they all show up on the laptop on their own. You barely set anything up. You just log into your Apple account or whatever it's called and you're good. And coming from Windows, it's weird for like a day. The buttons are flipped, some shortcuts are different, then you just get used to it. The speakers are also way better than they should be for something this thin, and the screen looks so clean. My first thought was, wait, this is actually OLED, but it's not. But to really get why I actually like this is because I actually used, like I said, the gaming laptop before this whenever I wanted to get out of my desk, and that thing was a nightmare to actually carry around. The battery lasts like 2 hours, so if I wanted to use it anywhere I had to drag this huge brick of a charger with me everywhere. And it also sounded like a plane was about to take off. It got hot as hell, and even if I just wanted to read something or just like watch a movie, it had to be plugged in the whole time or it died on me. And the worst part is that it costs more than this MacBook, and it was trash at every single thing a laptop is actually supposed to do. Mac is that silent, stays cool, and lasts me a full day, so I actually use it the way you're supposed to use a laptop, without a charger glued to it, because if you're gonna stay plugged in all the time anyway, at that point just get like a desktop. And macOS itself is just like fluid, easy, intuitive for everyday stuff, and the screen is gorgeous for movies, editing, Photoshop, all of that. So yeah, do I miss stuff from Windows? Of course. Would I fully switch to macOS and ditch my main desktop PC? Hell no, never in this life. But as a laptop, for what a laptop is actually supposed to do these days, this is night and day better than a gaming laptop ever was. And a gaming laptop in my eyes is not even good for gaming and is terrible for everything else on top. So who should actually buy this? If you mainly play competitive games, just don't. Stay on a PC, simple as that. If you're like a casual or single player gamer, maybe, as long as you check your games that you actually want to play. Or if you just don't care that you will play most of the games at 60 FPS or even under. But if you mostly edit, study, work, watch stuff, and you also play like some games on the side here and there, yeah, it's kind of decent. It's actually more than decent. And if you're like me, a gamer who also edits, don't pick one, use both. Mac for the work and the travel, PC for the gaming. And if you don't have the money, I don't know, make a YouTube channel talking about tech or shit like that, so you get like these things sent for free. So yeah, this is actually pretty good. I'm gonna keep it for sure, but like I mentioned, not for gaming, for everything else. Now let me know in the comments, what do you actually prefer? A MacBook, a gaming laptop, or just like a normal PC? And if you wanna see what over 1000 gamers chose as their most underrated purchase, check out the next video.